Welcome on in, fellow Terminator as well as Horus Heresy enjoyers. This is Sprues and Studs, and I'll have to admit to you, I think I have a problem. You know, I said that I probably wouldn't be reviewing these Horus Heresy action figures, but the more I see of them, the more I kind of want them, just because I'll have to say that the armors are looking pretty good and pretty nice compared to the more bland 40K armors. So that's why I'm starting to meddle a little bit with the Horus Heresy action figures. So in this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Sekhmet Terminator Cabal. I only bought two of them, which is the one with the Stormbolter and Chain Fist, as well as the Achea Force Weapon and the Combi-Melta. So we shall see what JoyToy has been cooking in the kitchen. All right, you know what? I'm a little bit bored. I kind of want to do something a little bit different, but really not that different. So instead of starting off with the action figure and the head, we're just going to mix it around a little bit and take a look at the weapons first. So starting off with this Achea Force Weapon, it is clearly based off of an Egyptian khopesh with the curved half-moon blade right here. So the base color of the khopesh is a light gold that has been faded into kind of like a bright silver on the edge of the blade. So I have to say that the design is rather simplistic and unadorned, but does not have any kind of frills or flare. So there is a tiny bit of shading on the deep channels of the handle right here. With the Combi-Melta, you get a very archaic vibe, and rightly so due to this weapon being, well, 10,000 years old compared to 40K. It is literally a melta gun and a bolt gun that is smashed together, perhaps likely using spot welds or probably something a little bit more sophisticated. So there is a white casing instead of the usual black. The only black that is found is on the handle, the sights right here, as well as the rear of the weapon. Otherwise, the barrels of the weapons are actually very bright silver in contrast with the darker gunmetal, and the only gunmetal that is present is on the drum magazine down here and the hose over on the other side of the Melta gun. And that should do it for this particular combi weapon. Picking up the action figure itself, you see that there is this same candy apple red glow that is found on Ahriman. The armor is clearly glossy with golden flakes embedded in it. It would really make for a badass paint job on a car, to be honest. The design of the legs are quite simple in that there are no purity seals, no insignias, nor any sort of iconography save for the bands of gold right here and the studs that break up kind of the red glow. The back of the legs, however, have a decent amount of kick to them in the form of this kind of terraced patterning here with the added texture of studs in the middle. The gold flake, for some odd reason, seems a lot more prominent in the back. I'll be honest with you, the back of the legs actually looks better than the front. Now, with regards to the waist area, perhaps there is elegance in simplicity. This Terminator is only rocking a gold heavily shaded belt right here. The loincloth also matches the simplicity of the waist area by being made of only 4 leather strips that have a metal stud at the end of it. So in the back of this Terminator, your eyes center in on the middle of the back towards the power plant region due to this area being vastly different from the candy apple red stickiness of the rest of the action figure. There are proper fans that are deeply shaded to give off more of a 3D textured look. There are gunmetal hoses that stand out in stark contrast to the vibrant gold and the red. With the chest area, finally, there is the arrival of a very prominent scarab beetle that is shown to be flying. There is heavy shading that is present all throughout this piece of iconography, especially between the feathers of the scarab. Either way, this thing is properly hieroglyphic and very Egyptian in origin. With the pauldrons, unlike the rest of the armor, there's a brilliant white stripe on both of the pauldrons right here. There's also a presence of golden fringe, as well as more leather fringe that is hanging down all throughout the pauldron. I'll be honest with you, the fringe seem a bit lifeless as they are just hanging straight down with gravity without kind of any waving motion to it like we've seen in some of the Primarchs in the past. The right pauldron has a very prominent Roman numeral 15, and to be honest, has a very Roman type font to it. And the left pauldron has a spicy scarab on it that has a creepy looking Eye of Magnus. So the helmet area looks very much like Ahriman's helmet. There's a white mask that again really jumps out from the rest of the armor. There's prominent golden iconography that is displayed in the middle of the helmet, as well as in the place of the metallic green eye on the other side. And that's pretty much it for the helmet area. Now with the headdress, it kind of looks Scorpion-ish. There are alternating bands of gold and white with very heavy shading in the middle of the bars. So near the top are these things I like to call like scorpion claws, and there is a green gem, which is sadly just a flat green color. All right, we will now move on to the Cataphractii Terminator with the Stormbolter and Chain Fist combination. So with the headdress on this particular action figure, it is pretty much the same as the previous one. However, there are slight and very subtle differences. The claw on the top here kind of has a different kind of configuration, and the claws seem to be a little bit more wide, and it also has these studs on the side of it. Otherwise, the general gist of the construction of this headdress is pretty much the same. Otherwise, the rest of the action figure is nearly the same as the first one that was reviewed. The only major difference is that in the forearm area on the left arm, it is obviously thicker than the other side over here. Perhaps this chunkiness is there to give extra protection, or the forearm has mechanisms that allow the Terminator to carve up his enemies like a Thanksgiving turkey. So what's interesting about this chain fist is that it can actually be removed from the body of the armor. You can see that there is a notch on the back of the chain fist that actually fits in this particular hole that is located in the armor. There is also a handle right here that allows the Terminator to grip the chain fist, I suppose, in order to stabilize it. So in terms of color, there are only two colors on the body of the blade, with being a weathered white, and the rest of the chain fist is a gunmetal with some dry brushed highlighting. But it looks kind of bland overall. Perhaps it is there for more function than form. And right now I will show you how this chain fist actually does notch into this piece of armor right here. It fits in like so. So moving on to this Combi-Bolter, or more accurately saying Stormbolter. This is the exact same construction as the Combi-Melta that was featured on the other Marine. So there is a dirty white casing with gunmetal drums here at the bottom. The barrels are a very bright silver, and the bolter is tied together with black accents all throughout the Stormbolter. And so that is the highly detailed review of these different but yet very similar Battle Brothers. So let me wrap this one up with what I think about them in the end. The Sekhmet Cabal are brilliantly colored action figures. They really stand out from the matte armor finishes of their Warhammer 40k action figure counterparts. I really love the glossy red as well as the glittering gold armor, which captures a ton of attention. Strangely enough, most of the character on these action figures are on the back of the legs, although I wish that there was, some more variation aside from the headdress part on the action figures. They look just too similar to each other and could use some, some purity seals or some iconography to add a little bit more spice to each and every single one of these figures. Overall, these are a pretty solid example of Cataphractii Terminators, and you can't go wrong if you decide to buy these. Would I recommend them? I would have to honestly say not really, based on how plain looking they are, and as I said before, they look too similar to each other. Only, I think, Thousand Sons fans are going to probably be jumping on these action figures, and I would totally recommend it for those types of people, or if you like to collect Terminators. So if you're interested in buying these action figures, you can pick them up at David Toys, where I get all of my action figures. As I said before, they have excellent ship times. Sometimes they can get these action figures to your doorstep from release in just 4 days, which is amazing. And if you do want to pick them up before you check out, do not forget to use the code SNS for 12% off of your purchase. And with that being said, members of the chapter, I am extremely appreciative of you tuning into all of these action figure reviews. I have seen a massive spike in views as well as comments and likes, which really help out the channel. So thank you so much for watching. I'm very appreciative to each and every single one of you. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.